Hey, welcome to the Odd Show. This is episode 6. We're super excited to have our next guest co-host. But as usual, my name is Bruce Pagano, and I'm here with our standard co-host, Thomas Hogan.
Standard
co-host.
All standard, all the time.
And our new, or this episode's guest co-host is a longtime good friend, Stephen Frausto. We actually know Stephen from way back in '09. So Stephen, welcome to the show, man. Excited to have you.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. So you want to tell people about you, and maybe like if they wanted to follow you on any kind of social media, where they could do that?
Yeah. So again, my name is Stephen Frausto, and I live here in Chicago. It's going on 5 years. Come from a small town in Wyoming, Cheyenne. That's where I met these two awesome gentlemen.
I don't tell people that I was ever in Cheyenne.
The thing is, he actually loved it.
It's the liars.
Anyways, so about 4.5 years ago, on a mission trip, I got called to come to Moody Bible Institute, where I served and got my bachelor's degree in biblical studies and youth ministry. Probably the hardest education I've ever had, but something that has really disciplined me in my walk with the Lord. Currently, I have not been able to find a job in my field of study, which is okay because it's life. I think that's what my studies is life. So I'm currently working at the school that I graduated from as the food purchaser of Moody Bible Institute. So I get a budget of like $180,000 a month, and I get to be faithful with the money the Lord has blessed the school with for food and wisely shop every day. So yeah,
did you tell them they were the Lord's cheaps?
I was gonna say, like, I have a hard time deciding what to spend like $600 a month on for groceries, and my wife does most of that. So I could. Good on you, man. That is brave.
Yeah.
180,000 a month. That's insane. If we come out, will you feed us?
I'm sure I can get you food. Yeah.
Sweet.
Breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Awesome. So that's Stephen, and like I said, we're stoked to have him. I think the way that came about was you were just like, "Hey, can you guys want to talk about stuff like this?" And I was just like, "Come on!" And you were like, "Are you serious?" And I was like, "Yeah, anybody can come on the show.
Yeah.
Literally anyone.
Anyone.
No
standards whatsoever.
Yeah, we set the bar fairly low when we decided to do this because we don't reach past the bar very much. So, so anybody coming in is probably above bar. So welcome to the show. You're the most credible person on the show.
Hope so.
Anyway, so what are we talking about? We're talking about some fiery stuff. No, we're talking about
big deal stuff.
One thing's pretty easy, right? The first topic, though.
The first topic's super easy. The other one, I don't even know how we're going to get to.
I don't even know how to talk about the other one. So the first topic is, anybody? The transgender bathroom.
Oh, I should have got a wig. If I would have got a wig, people would have thought it was hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
Next time.
Actually, you should do that because last time you were Deadpool.
Yeah.
For the nudity discussion.
Although I would we would get bad comments about that.
The wig?
And people will quote the Bible. It's going to get crazy.
I don't think there's anything in the Bible about wearing a wig.
Yeah, you can't be effeminate. It's a big deal.
Oh,
it's like totally in the Old Testament.
I've never heard that in the Old Testament.
Really?
No, I mean the whole lie with a man thing, but I've never heard the word effeminate.
Yeah. Don't jump straight to that. There's other stuff surrounding it.
Yeah. Well,
anyway.
the whole cutting the hair thing. So.
Right.
I guess.
Anyway.
Yeah.
We're gonna talk about transvestites today.
No, that's not what we're talking about.
Wait, we're not talking about transvestites?
Transgender?
Oh, transgender. Totally different.
Yeah. Actually, the whole LBGTQ.
There's a lot of letters. When I grew up, there was like 3 letters. Now there's like 16 letters. It actually spells something now.
Yeah. There are a lot of letters. Actually, I was listening to the Phil Vischer podcast, which plug for them. They're awesome. If you don't know who Phil Vischer is, he created the VeggieTales brand and Big Idea, and now he's doing What's in the Bible. Awesome show, and I love it. And this format's a lot like Phil Vischer. We just don't have the credibility, the clout,
Yeah.
the production or a ukulele, the following, the ukulele, probably the talent. So other than that, identical to the show.
Exactly like his show.
Exactly like the show.
You should watch them both at the same time.
But oddly, they talked about the same topic that we decided to address. And they started going through the legitimate list of letters that are on that, and it was like 9 or something like there's a lot.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're going to talk about that issue, and kind of this all stems from North Carolina's passed a law, and I looked at the law and I tried to read some on it. Anybody read on the actual law? So Stephen, maybe you can fill in some of the law stuff, but I was looking, and there's a ton of articles on it. So what's the law say?
The law is just the equality of all people and what they think and what they feel on their identity, and trying to meet the standards of, I guess, allowing them to express themselves. So if a man he feels like he's a woman, not holding him back in that decision and allowing him to freely express that, whether that's to publicly dress that way or to even, well, I guess what we'll be talking about is what Target's allowing.
Right.
Men to use the women's bathroom. And
so the North Carolina law disallowed that.
Oh.
Yeah.
I thought that's something different.
No. So the issue is that there should be equality, right? But the North Carolina just passed a law that basically says that it's not allowed. They can't use public facilities. And Target said, in response to that, we don't care what you said. We're always forward thinking, and we're going to allow anybody to use any bathroom for whatever gender they identify with. And that's the issue. So Thomas, go ahead.
So the issue, let me get this straight. The issue is that everyone should be treated equally. That's the issue. That's the problem.
Except for as far as North Carolina is concerned, they should not be able to.
Well, legally,
they should not. They're not allowed to. If whatever, I think it's whatever gender that they were born with, their biological gender, which I think I heard
is that sex? Is that right?
Cisgender. So whatever sex you were born with, whatever your birth certificate says. That is the facilities that you have to use in North Carolina.
So now that I have somewhat of a frame to base this around, I just first of all want to say it's not my issue. I don't. Right. I don't. Not only do I not have a personal opinion about this is how things should work. Did transsexual? Is it transsexual, right?
Transgender. Yeah.
Transgender. This right. Large scope of this word trans. Did they just start doing this like last week? Is this?
Yeah,
because I'm guessing it's totally
a fairly new thing as of probably Wednesday.
Right. So these people have been using the bathroom for, I'm guessing their whole lives.
No, they just started using the bathroom, which I think prompted North Carolina to say you can't do this.
Right.
No, of course.
I honestly don't know. I don't know where this crop of. This these weird set of votes that come up in the public,
right.
And I'm guessing because it's a voting year, I don't know. These are weird things to for us to focus on, because right. If you don't make any laws about it and you just say people do what you think is the right thing, for the most part, the general public is going to be like, oh yeah, I dress like a woman and I look like a woman, or I look moderately like a woman. I'm going to go to the bathroom I choose to go in, and right. No one ever cares or says anything. Right. And then the opposite. You're born a woman or born a female, and then you identify as male later on in your life, and you look male, maybe take some shots, or you do something to look more male, and then you use the restroom. And I've never been in a public air space where I've seen people that I'm like, I don't know if that's a woman or a guy, but I don't approach them going to the bathroom and say, well, that's not where you can,
right,
I don't. Right.
So
I don't get it. I just don't get it.
I'm willing to bet that we've all at some point been in a bathroom with someone that was not born the same gender as us. I'm willing to bet that without even knowing. I've never known it.
So
I brought that up on on one post, but I brought it up in a couple conversations, and I guess what the issue is more than that is the potential for people that for perverts and people that are looking to victimize women and children, that this law or that Target's policy, which, by the way, there's a boycott on Target. So if you're shopping at Target, unchristian. Unchristian.
Guilty.
Oh, I left my book over here. I got to get my Christian book.
And I'm going to be honest. Target's the place I go to get away from Walmart people. So, no, I'm just joking. I heard that.
Don't lie. You know it's true. You know it's true.
Because, I mean, Tuesday night at 2 in the morning is not where you want to be. Walmart's not the place you want to be on a Tuesday night at 2 in the morning.
Especially in Cheyenne.
Right. That's why Target's closed. They're like, you're not allowed here.
No, you know where you can go.
Yeah. But anyway, so there's a boycott on Target, and the bigger issue, from what I understand is, and from what I've been seeing, is that there's this potential for people to abuse that policy and victimize women and children, and that's the outcry. Like, the outcry is you're inviting just some dude that's like, I feel like a woman today, and they're going to go into the bathroom and they're going to rape your child.
Blair Carole King as loud as they can.
I don't know what that means.
Carole King?
No.
You make me feel.
Oh, like a natural woman.
Okay.
Right. I don't think that the worries that they'll be singing in there while you're trying to go to the bathroom.
Here's the thing. Where this? So I now that I'm hearing it out loud, because I read a few things online and I just didn't get. I don't get where the outrage is. Now, if that's where they're focusing their outrage or their problem with this, where was this before? Like, perverts have been around probably a lot longer than transgender people.
But they weren't allowed to legally go into a bathroom.
Right, but still, if they go in there and do something inappropriate, it's probably still going to be legal. Like, I'm 90% guessing our society is crazy.
It's going to be illegal.
It's going to, if they go in there and expose themselves, or bust in on somebody while they're using the bathroom, they're probably going to get arrested still, right? Like, they're not going to be like, well, I'm a woman, so you can't arrest me.
Right. So there was a guy that was just convicted in my neighborhood, that lived in my neighborhood. One of my neighbors, not my neighbor specifically, but 22-year-old dude, straight, white, drug problem, went into the Maverick women's gas station right up the road from me, was just convicted and sentenced last week. But he was... The Maverick does not have a policy that says he's allowed to be in there, and he still went into the women's bathroom, still tried to assault a woman.
Right.
Not dressed as a woman.
No laws. No laws involved.
Like, he wasn't allowed in there. He just went in there. So had there been a law, like, I guess part of the issue is if somebody does that, it can't be counted trespassing. For me, if a guy goes into a women's bathroom and assaults my wife, I'm not worried about trespassing. I'm worried.
And the fact that he has a dress on is not going to stop me.
I want him charged with assault.
Right.
And I feel like any lawyer worth their salt could probably convince a court he was in there for nefarious reasons and didn't deserve to be, which should constitute trespassing. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he wasn't.
Yeah, I just don't see that. I don't. The outrage, I think, is misplaced. Because I know, I've seen it. I've seen people get upset about it and talk about it.
So
I don't get. It's not that I don't get. I get where they're coming from. I don't think that I don't think that they're thinking it through. I think that they're upset about the fact that our culture says this is okay.
Right.
Our society as a whole is the one who's saying, "Hey, you be who you want to be and how you want to be, and that's cool with us." And I think that's what they're upset about.
Right.
And in being upset about that, they kind of shadow this other thing that's not really the thing. Like, to me, I don't know if you're a man or a woman. I mean, I can guess. I've seen people, and I've guessed wrong before. Right. I can guess whether you're a man or a woman, but I don't know. If you go into the stall next to me, you're just doing whatever people do in the stall next to me, and I'm focused on my own world. I got stuff going on I've got to worry about in life.
Right.
That is not, there's a separation between me and the stall next to me.
Right.
For that reason, that I don't worry about what's going on in that world. I'm in this world. And I think Christians, I would say Christians, I would say people.
Well, I mean, a lot of the moral outrage is from the Christian community. And let me just say, part of the reason I grew a beard is people kept confusing me.
With other Christians?
No,
with
other Christians. And kept saying, ma'am, excuse me, ma'am. I'm just kidding. That's not true. I'm
Oh,
bald.
yeah.
There's
The
no way
balding head is definitely that's.
And yeah, I have a yeah.
Do you guys know who kind of started this whole?
I just
Ken
don't
Ham.
know. Is it Ken Ham?
No,
Oh,
that's funny.
Falwell, the other Falwell.
Have you guys heard of the
Jerry
American
Falwell.
Family Association?
oh yeah. Yep, it was.
Who runs that?
Some crazy guy.
Not Grams, right? Grams are cool, right? They're like, hey, love it.
Who's Franklin Graham? Franklin Graham.
Is it Franklin Graham? I don't
know.
It can't be.
American Family. What is it?
American Family Association.
Family.
And I didn't know who they were until I started doing some research on this whole. What do you call it?
Transgender
Protest
issue.
they're doing.
Yeah, boycott.
Boycott.
Over 900,000 signatures.
Yeah.
It looks like. Wow.
Were these people shopping at Target really? I want to know. Were they like exclusively like, no, I go to Target to get my shampoo all the time?
I don't. Maybe, but does it matter? I mean, it kind of. I guess it does matter, but I mean, like,
Yeah, but
for what
I just,
matters.
whether these people, I don't think these people are like exclusively like, oh, we love Target, it's our thing. Because my guess is Target's been on this lean for a long time. Like, it's not just Target, it's our society. It's I don't know what Walmart supports. Walmart never talks about what they support and don't support.
But I mean, like, but you're right because like
they don't support unions. That's the only thing that Walmart.
That's not true. I worked for Walmart and they are pro-employee, not pro-union.
Right?
Or they're not anti-union. They're pro-employee.
Oh.
You can say that all you want, but try to start a union. Try to start a union in Walmart and see what happens.
But do you guys know anything about the American Family Association or no?
I have no idea.
No, so like I'm looking at their page and it looks like they are really good at activism, starting protests.
Yes. Well, one of their main guys 2 years ago. This is a quote from him. He says, "Homosexuality gave us Adolf Hitler, and homosexuals in the military gave us the brown shirts. The Nazis were more war machines, and because of them, we have 6 million dead Jews." Wow. So this is from one of the leaders of this.
This is news to me. I've been taught history all wrong. Every day I find out that I do not understand how history works.
Was Hitler gay?
But I think
he was married to his cousin.
Well, that's different. That's totally different. And if it was like the second or third cousin, that's totally different.
Yeah.
So the leader's a guy named Tim Wildman, and he's the president. And the founder and chairman looks like to be his brother, Donald Wildman, or his dad, maybe? I don't know. They look pretty close to the same age. Yeah, a bunch of old white guys, and then there's a...
Oh, jeez.
And then there's
that's our target demographic with this show. So I mean, I'm really concerned.
But hey, their public policy analyst is a middle-aged looking black guy and a young-looking black woman is their director of communications. So they're diverse.
Awesome. That's all it takes. So I feel like Christians are not Christians. A large portion, I shouldn't even say majority, a large portion of Christians in America are still on this culture war thing.
Right.
And because they're losing the culture war, they lash out, like they awkwardly send their army to like very weird spots on the front line.
Yeah.
Spots where no other army is. Like there's not an army on the other side.
Right.
They're like, no, you need to focus our guys on that part of the fence where nobody's standing and attack.
So, my issue with this, so I guess this is kind of what the deal with us is, what we're supposed to be kind of moving towards is what the appropriate Christian response is. And obviously we're not going to give, like, this is how Christians should respond. Thomas isn't. I'm going to tell you how you should respond.
Yeah, I'm not going to tell you what to do.
Nobody listens to me, so I don't.
I learned my lesson. You should tell people what to do because no one listens to you.
Right. So, but I mean, Stephen, you posted something, didn't you? About
I did, and I started an uproar on Facebook.
I know, I saw that.
Every minute of it.
I commented on it.
You defended me, and I appreciate it.
I did because I love you, and I believe what you said was true. What'd you say?
I'm looking it up right now. I'm hoping my phone doesn't die. I said, Oh, I'm a Facebookaholic. That's problem number one. So I said, Dear Christians, Target may be the first to allow transgender usage of bathrooms, but it will not be the last. This is our culture now. Your protest and fight against culture will not change anything. It actually does the opposite. Your silly and immature response to protest does nothing. Jesus did not call us to protest, to hate, to shame, to call out the sin of an unbeliever. He calls us to love our enemies and to bless them, but we are called to judge believers, in which I am doing now. My brothers and sisters, I urge you to seek and to yearn for the love of our Savior. I urge you to be an influencer to culture by your love, not your protest or hate. We are better than this. Many of you break my heart because you do not love. Love is not acceptance, but love is truth and wisdom. It is who Christ is. So let's love. Let's be the hands of Jesus. Let's be wise. Let's be quick to listen and slow to speak. Honestly, brothers and sisters, what would Jesus do?
I like it.
That's it, man.
So,
that's it.
Christian, stop it.
Or just find something that's worthwhile and fix that.
Yeah. So
we still have all those unadopted babies. That's still a problem?
Right. Yeah. And there's
unloved children.
And there's
starving
people that are hungry. Right? There's people that are hungry.
And that's my thing. Most of the time, when Christian groups organize a boycott, it's never over the dangerous working conditions or child labor or environmental irresponsibility. It's
Yeah.
Right. It's like I don't want to be in the bathroom with a dude.
Now, if they said I'm not going to put my money into Target, I'm going to put my money into Haiti and helping the orphans there, then I'd be like, oh, okay, I can get on board with that.
Right.
It's not the Target thing doesn't bother me, but this thing does. So
I'm going to fast from Target.
Right.
I'm
going to put all the money.
It's a long fast.
Let's be real. That's what it's going to be. I mean, back in 2012 when Starbucks had we're supporting same-sex marriage, Christians like, I'm not going there. But
shout out to episode 1.
Church, they were there this Sunday.
Everyone knows that the CEO of Apple's gay, right? He's married to a man. Like
is that still happening?
Don't Christians use Apple products in church?
Yeah.
Churches are not going to get rid of their iMacs or whatever.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, if you don't have Keynote, you can't do a sermon.
Right. It's everything is fine until you affect my bottom. Like, my bottom line as a Christian, and then I'm like, well, there's grace.
Right.
There's grace to cover the things that I really want to do.
There's grace for the bottom line. So my thing is like, and I read this. It's exactly what it is. Right? Is like there's starving, but children, orphans out there. And actually, my wife said something the other day that like if we are truly seeking God, and our relationship with Him is growing, and we're really looking to love God, love others, love each other as Jesus commanded, shouldn't the natural progression of that be adoption? Like as He's like, hey, care for widows and orphans in their affliction, shouldn't all Christians naturally move towards like, hey, we should adopt probably? Like, and I was like, whoa, that's yes.
Right, doesn't that take time and money?
That's intense.
Right.
Like
time, effort, and money, a lot more than 10% of it.
If you move toward like legitimately, if your relationship with God is always growing, legitimately you should eventually grow a heart to adopt babies.
I would actually caveat that by saying, or come alongside that and say, even if your relationship with God is not growing, but your belief and upholding of the Bible is consistent, you're going to go that direction. Even if your relationship with God is like your prayer life is not that interesting, that your engagement with the gospel is not. If you believe the Bible, that's the direction the Bible goes. Like that's the direction the New Testament, especially the Gospels, goes.
So, we're going to be adopting probably in the years.
Right. To be a real Christian. Of
no,
course.
yeah. I mean, like legitimately, like.
Legitimate.
But as all that's important when we look at like this political. We're in this political year. There's all these crazy laws being passed. Like the one law that we're up in arms about is this, which North Carolina, I mean, come on, like just repeal the law. This is stupid. Like it does nothing. But the one thing that we're up in arms about is this Target issue, like boycott Target because they're going to let guys use the women's room. And in the meantime, Oklahoma's passing laws saying that if you're so intoxicated, I read this today and it blew my mind. Like, if you're so intoxicated that you can't give consent and someone assaults you, as long as it's not like full rape.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Did you see that? Like,
yeah.
Like,
I think it came down to whether if it's oral or physical, but not penetration.
Right. So, and you're so intoxicated that you can't say no, that you can't resist. Crazy. It's not rape.
Wow.
That's a law. They just they just interpreted a law to mean that in Oklahoma. But that, like, so now we're like, oh, cool, date rape drug. Awesome. I'm just going to get her so wasted she can't resist, and now I can do whatever I want. And
be okay.
And no, like, I don't see anybody up in arms with Oklahoma. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's backwards. If ever I heard backwards, that's backwards. And I don't see that. Like, that's on nobody's radar. So I'm going to boycott.
Like I said,
I'm going to boycott.
We've got this army of
I'm never going to Oklahoma.
Never going. I'm
boycotting Oklahoma.
I don't know if I think that was
hashtag boycott Oklahoma. Hashtag you're not okay.
No sooner. Hashtag no sooner. I don't think that's a fast if you weren't going to do it to begin with. I don't know. Oh, that's so messed up. Oh man.
But I mean, I'm serious. Like,
this is what I'm talking about, though. We have a Christian army. We have a Christian subculture, and we could focus it in all these amazing ways and really make change happen for people, meaningful, impactful value for people. And instead, we focus on the Slurpee machine at Target. Nobody. It makes no sense to me.
Right.
I'm not telling Christians what to do. I'm just saying I don't understand what Christians are doing.
Right.
These particular Christians, I don't get it.
It just, and now, like, to kind of play the other side, not devil's. I hate the idea of devil's advocate. I was thinking about it today. Like, okay, I don't have a problem with a guy going into the women's restroom, even if my wife and daughter are in there. There's stalls in the women's bathroom. Like, he's going to use the stalls. I'm not worried about him trying to assault. Like, it just hasn't happened. And the likelihood of it happening is
pretty low.
Pretty low. I mean,
I'm not saying it's non-existent.
Right.
Because
but I mean, perverts
are everywhere, and they've been here since before.
Perverts aren't picking Target because they're like, oh, they have a policy where I can go in the bathroom now. Awesome.
They're reading the guidelines.
That's not going to be on their radar. They're not going to be like, hey, what store? Oh, Target, Walmart. That would be stupid.
Even though everybody's watching, let's go do it.
Right. So, but I did think about it, and I'm not sure that I want, like, so what about locker rooms? Because this extends to locker rooms also. Like, I don't know that I want a man in a locker room of the YMCA for swimming where my 13-year-old daughter is stripping down naked to put her clothes on, and there's a person that identifies as a woman but has male genitalia stripping down naked.
But I'm going to go ahead and call it. I honestly think that YMCA would have a problem with that. Not that they'd have a problem with the transgender
because they're a
issue.
Christian organization, right? No.
Well, no, not. Well, I don't. YMCA Gold's Gym. They're not a Christian organization.
No, but
Gold's Gym. Yeah. If there was a dude standing there naked with a bunch of women and being weird or awkward about it, instead of like, hey, I want to. Have you
been to a locker room where an old dude strips down naked? They're not weird about it.
Yeah, I know.
They just walk around.
I go to Gym on Base, and those guys are, those are old retired guys, and they do not.
That's
care.
That's gonna be me as soon as my hair turns gray.
They do not care at all. They are just in their towels, barely covering anything, and they're just like, they at least
go try and put towels on because the ones I go to, they don't put towels on.
Yeah. So if that's I'm just gonna call it. That's not happening. Right. If that happens in a business, any business, Gold's Gym, YMCA, local basketball place where kids go to play basketball, it's going to get called out. Not 100% of the time, because weirdos are weirdos, but it's going to get called out and addressed, and that person's going to end up in court, or that person's going to end up shamed, or something's going to happen. I I see that as the default for our society. Even though our society says, "Hey, be who you want to be," the "be who you want to be" part is if you come into a women's bathroom and you are male transitioning or you feel this way, and you say, "Hey guys, I don't want to weird anybody out. I just want to let you know that this is what I'm going to do," and the gym says, "Okay, cool," or the gym says, "No, we don't allow that here. There's a another place you can do that."
Curves. Go to Curves.
So
I was wrong. I'm sorry, Curves.
Yeah, sorry, Curves. Please don't. If we ever need a sponsor one day, I think that
the odd show sponsor.
a version of apology should be that Curves is a part of them. Anyway, I just don't think our societies, the culture war that people are trying to win. I think we have manners. Like not everybody, obviously, but
there's a standard of behavior that's accepted.
And I think culturally, I just don't see. I know that I can get in trouble for going to urinate outside. Like if I went downtown right now and peed on the side of a building, I would get in trouble. Yep. In the same way that if I went somewhere and exposed myself or tried to grab someone or whatever it is that I just felt like doing at the moment because I was high on bath salts, I'm going to get arrested for it. Like, well, I'm not in Florida anymore, but I'm going to get arrested for it. So, not me. I'm not going to.
No, that's true. And that's kind of the conclusion my wife and I came to as we were talking, was just like that side came up, like, and the likelihood of it happening is still minuscule at best. Like,
so the likelihood of it happening, regardless of whether there's a law, is still there.
Right.
Like, if you're a pervert or you're a weirdo or you've got some compulsion to do these things, the law has not stopped anyone to do it from before now, and a law is not going to stop it in the future.
But these laws are being enacted in places like North Carolina, and even the ones religious liberty laws and stuff like that, where they're saying like, hey, a business can't be forced to participate in things that violate their conscience.
Actually, I agree with that one.
No, I agree.
I'm on the other side of that one.
But I mean, it just kind of depends, because the way that they're set, like the people are like, oh, we need these laws to protect us from them forcing our pastor to marry a gay couple. That's never happened. Like that and it's just not going to happen. Like, matter of fact, on the Phil Vischer show, one of the pastors on there, Sky Jitani, is one of the co-hosts, and he wrote a 3-part thing about why these laws are hurting us, and one of the things he references is that there's case law that supports, that would get people laughed out of the court if someone came in and said that pastor won't marry me and my husband, we're gay and they won't marry us, and as early as like the late 80s, early 90s, there was a court case that went where a pastor wouldn't marry a biracial couple, and the court was like, nope. Here's case law that says they don't have to if it violates whatever religious belief that they have. But baking a cake, that's totally different. Like,
well, no, but I feel like just like the Confederate flag, I'd rather know you're a bigot. I want to know that. I don't want you to hide it.
Right.
And then later on, when I go to find out, I'm like, oh wait,
the laws protect you from creative aspects of it. Like, hey, if I came in and said, bake me a cake and put on it, I love homosexuality. No, I'm not doing that. I'll bake you a cake for your wedding, but I'm not going to violate my First Amendment right and write something. It's the same way as if someone came in and said, hey, I want you to paint a mural on the side of a building. This is the example they use. Paint a mural on the side of the building and make it the KKK. And the painter's like, no, that violates everything that I believe in ever. I'm not doing that. And they can't make them. So even these laws are set. These laws are people pushing these laws into this place where they think it's a deeper issue of thinking that we're a Christian nation, so we ought to have Christian values enforced. And like, I'm sure that you hear it. Like, you hear it all the time. Like, we were founded on Christian values. Like, no, we weren't.
No, you were founded by some people who were Christian.
We were actually founded by people that were escaping
and they
a country that was forcing
Christianity.
You know what I'm saying? Like they left England, who was forcing Christianity on them. They were like, we don't want that.
Version of Christianity.
Well, their version, but still, I mean, it was a version of Christianity.
Yeah.
But the point is they weren't Christian. Like, some of them espoused similar values,
Right.
because I think that Christian values are good values, but Buddhists have good values.
Right.
And,
We talked about it a few episodes ago
Yeah.
about the difference between being a Christian
right,
and being Christian.
Right.
And I would say that the majority of the people who came over and settled in this land were, there were a Christians. They were a bunch of Christians, but they were not Christian.
Right.
They did not do Christian things.
Right.
They just were Christians. You know,
Right. So-
it's a weird distinction for people,
But I think it's important that Christians understand that, like, we don't live in a Christian nation. Like, we live in a pluralistic nation. Like,
yeah,
the marketplace
that has
is
allowed
pluralistic.
Christianity to thrive.
Right. And now all of a sudden we're losing some of that privilege. We're not having stuff restricted. We're not having stuff taken away. We're just having to share
our beliefs.
We're having to share
right.
some of that privilege with other people, and all of a sudden it's just like, whoa. That's not fair. It'd be like me.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm white. If you didn't know, I'm white.
I'm shutting this off now. Shut it down.
But it would be like me saying, if they were like, hey, we're going to allow everybody to vote. And I was like, whoa. You're going to take away my privilege to vote? That's stupid. It's asinine.
No.
Can I say
we're
asinine?
going to let
It's
other
asinine.
people vote.
Huh? But they're just letting other people
Yeah.
vote. They're not taking away my right to vote. They're letting other people
know.
vote. So, I mean, and that's what it is. Like, for me, Christians, like, one, act Christian. But two,
Or just follow the Bible or do something. I don't know.
they're not taking anything away from them. They're trying to allow people in a pluralistic society to have the same rights
Yeah.
that you've enjoyed.
Yeah. Like, you're not making me call it marriage. You're just letting people do what they want to do.
Right.
Let people do what they want to do. Like, it has no effect. Actually, I'm going to focus on my marriage. I'm just going to work on my marriage until that's where God wants it to be. And then you can do what you want to do over there. And
Right.
I'll fix this problem first, which Christianity is not
Right.
going to do. Like,
Right.
the Christian church in America is not going to fix marriages.
Right.
If that were the case, then that would be happening.
It would be done.
Right.
Yeah, we would already be, and we would have full right to say, listen, Christians have been doing this right for thousands of years.
Right. If
And
our
you guys-
divorce rate in the church was near zero, I'd be like,
Or,
no, get
hey,
on with it.
I'll settle
Come
for
dude.
20. If
You
we
know?
get down to 20%, I'm okay. Like, I think if we can get down below 50, I'm good.
Right.
Yeah.
I feel like we have a high horse at that point to call out the rest of culture.
Be like, you guys are at 50%. We're at 48.5. Like, we are doing something right.
You get to win when your marriage actually looks better than the gay couple down the street.
Right.
When your marriage starts looking better,
Wow.
then
Are
I
we
think
talking
you can
about
say
interior design looks better, or
something. Not your home, your marriage.
oh, you're right.
And don't even get me started on Christian parenting. Like, don't even.
That's not this show. That's not this
Yeah,
show.
not this show. We don't do that.
So yeah.
So yeah.
But what
So
fixes that? You know what fixes that? Christian community.
Before we go
good
there,
segue.
Oh no, go ahead.
Before we go there.
I've just been reading a bunch of articles, reading what people are writing, and again going back to the association that's kind of started this, and I keep asking the question: what are we fighting? What are we fighting? Are we fighting a law? Or are we fighting something that we just don't agree with? What do you guys think with that? Does that make sense? What I'm asking?
Yeah, I think
Is our fight really the law?
right. I don't think. Well, Christians won that. Like they won the law.
Right,
Like
they
isn't
got
that
the
the
law.
law? Is you don't get to do this.
So we're fighting this policy that a private
a
company,
business,
that a private
yeah.
for-profit business enacted. That, let's be honest, don't shop there. Go to Fred
Right.
Meyer's. Go to Gordman's. Go to Walmart. Go somewhere
Kohl's.
else.
Kohl's is a great place to buy
Nobody
clothes.
shops at Kohl's, unless you're big into Kohl's Bucks. And but go somewhere else. You don't have to shop at Target. Like, shop on Amazon. You never have to leave your house. And there's guaranteed, unless you let a transgender into your house, they won't be in your bathroom.
And there are no transgenders peeing at the brick and mortar Amazon store.
Right.
So would you guys say that we're fighting the transgender movement as Christians?
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
say that Christians think. I don't know. I can't speak getting ahead of every Christian. I think that there are some Christians who think that by doing this, and maybe they're going to have an effect on Target. Maybe Target's going to change their mind. Who knows?
Oh,
But
they came
I
out
think-
and they were like, we don't care what your Boycott says. They
good
put
for
a statement
them.
out.
Because I'm on Target side, and I also don't care what their boycott says.
Right.
I think that Christians really think, or some Christians really think, or some people, I would guess probably Republican-leaning people, I think they really think that they are having an effect on the
Moral fabric?
Yeah, the moral fabric of America, that we're going to stand up for what's right regardless of what you guys think or do. And they're not, I don't think they see the bigger implication that you're kind of a jerk.
Right.
Like the bigger implication is that I'm not seeing Jesus clearly because of this.
Right.
I'm not seeing a picture of holiness and righteousness because of this. I'm just seeing a jerk who's really mean to my cousin Michael, who's changed his name to Tina now. Like,
right.
That's all I see. I see that.
I think they would change their name to Mikkel, but...
well, whatever. I don't...
That's anyway.
But
I think you're right. Like, I got a buddy here, and he's a Messianic. He wasn't Jewish before, but like he's kind of
No.
Jew.
Christians convert to Messianic Judaism sometimes.
But and awesome guy, love him to death. But he made the point too that he was just like, look, you guys are so up in arms about this Leviticus thing and the homosexuality thing, and but you violate these Levitical laws
all these
left and right. And the dude doesn't eat pork or shellfish, you know what I'm saying? Like, I can't invite him over and have a brisk, like a pork butt on the grill or crab night. Like, he ain't coming over.
I don't, if he's for real deal, he can't even come to your house because you don't have a kosher house. Like, you don't separate any of your foods.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
I might not have a friend that's Messianic anymore. Anyway.
Well, he can be your friend, just not in your house.
No, yeah, right. Good. No, I'm just joking.
I hope he boycotts me.
But the point he's making is like, man, like, you can't pick and choose. And I think we had this conversation.
Oh yeah, we can. There's strong precedent for us to pick and choose.
But I think we had this conversation. Stephen, you weren't in on it. Why isn't he in on Ministry Swipe? He should be in on that.
Oh yeah, let's pull you in.
We had this conversation about, like, you can't take, like Jesus didn't abandon the law. He came to perfect the law, and you can't pick and choose. Like, you either take the law as a whole or you don't. And if you take the law as a whole and you follow Jesus, the law is summed up in loving God and loving others. Like he perfected it so much so that when you love God and love others, you're fulfilling the whole of the law. Like, you don't get to pick and choose. So if my target, no pun, but if my target is the transgender, the homosexual, the LGBTQA community, if that's my fight, if like my biblical focus is to undo that, then that is not a Jesus. Because I can take the Bible and I can do that, and I can beat, like, people do it. People beat people down with it, but that is not a Jesus focus, because how Jesus explained the law precludes doing that. So,
So you're saying to love
always in community, like when talking with other Christians, the answer is always, love them. In church, it's always Jesus. So
which we can end it here, but what I think is funny, and this is just my thoughts on this, is I feel that Christians are using fear towards one another to run this boycott. And I guess something that I've been wrestling with is 1 John 4:18, where it says, there is no fear in love, but perfect love casts out fear. For fear has to do with the punishment, and whoever fears has not perfected in love. Which, what you're saying is, if that's what we're called to do, if that's what sums up the law is love, Christians, why are we invoking fear towards one another? Why are we feeding each other off of fear? Why aren't we loving each other as well as loving those who we disagree with?
I don't have an answer.
I think the only quiver they have in that, or is it quiver? No, arrow. The only arrow they have in the quiver is, be afraid for your children. Be afraid for your daughter and your son. I'm not. Well, I trust God, first of all, and I don't trust people. I don't think that there are a lot of safe places for my kids to just completely be who they want to be and do what they want to do and be complete. Because we live in a culture where bad things happen all the time. Not predominantly, but bad
80% of what people are afraid of in Target, 80% is going to happen in your own home.
Right, in your own home, or your
or Chicago,
house.
From what I read.
or walking
That's what
down
I'm reading in the news
street.
every week. They're like, hey,
Or let's be
89 people
honest.
shot.
Let's be honest. At your church sleepover, at your,
yeah.
you know, this is
Sadly.
that's where that stuff's gonna happen. And that's I don't fear for my children in that I've entrusted my children to God. But I would argue that most Christians that think along these lines fear for our country because they don't trust God.
Right.
Constantly, I'm afraid I'm going to lose my country.
Same
but
reason
you are.
that
That's biblical. You're going to. All
You're
Christians
going
will
to.
lose everything. Why
It's
are
the same
we
reason why
fighting
they're going
God
to elect.
wants?
The
That's
Bible
the same reason
says
why
this.
they're going to vote for Trump.
Christians, the Bible says this: kingdoms rise and fall, but the word of our God stands forever. Like that. This is not something you cannot protect America if America goes off the rails and decides that they don't want to observe or have Christians in it anymore. Then I would say that's a time to start praying for America. Otherwise, love your neighbors well and be an example of what Christ is really about.
Right.
And less of the stuff. You want to win the culture war, you win it by loving people, not by this other weird stuff that you keep focusing on.
Well, and here's my thing with that. Like, and then we can get, because we don't have a ton of time, but we can get into the Christian community thing for a minute, because this is a good transition. But my thing is, like, the gospel doesn't fit into the culture. Like, it doesn't fit into the culture. It didn't fit into the first century Jerusalem culture. It got Jesus crucified. What he was talking about didn't fit the culture so much that he was arrested and crucified for it. So the gospel doesn't fit our culture, and we don't, like, the gospel is not intended to change culture. It's intended to change hearts. That's it. Like, that's the bottom line. Like, and then those hearts, hopefully, influences culture, and then we get to be in those different spaces, you know, entertainment and school, you know, education and social settings. Like, we get to be in those and influence those areas of culture, and we've done a poor job of that. And one of the places that we can help to cultivate a heart for Jesus is inside a Christian community. And Stephen brought this topic up, and Thomas and I have talked about Christian community a ton. On my website, The Whole Man, I talk about the importance of community when it comes to finding wholeness and healing. And specifically, one of the best places to look at what Christian community looks like is Acts 2, verses 42 through 47. And do you have that up, Stephen?
I do.
It's in the Bible.
You want to read that?
Yeah, it says, and they devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and to the fellowship of the breaking of bread and prayers.
Is that all the way to 47?
Oh, 47 too? Okay, sorry. And we came upon every soul, and many wonders and signs were being done through the apostles, and all who believed were together and had things in common. And they were selling their possessions and belongings and distributing the proceeds to all, as any had a need. And day by day, attending the temple together and breaking bread in their homes, and they received their food with glad and generous hearts.
So that's what Christian community should look like. I think we're all in agreement with that, right? Like, like Thomas's thing right now is simple church. This is what you're calling it, right? Simple church. And that's not your thing, but I mean, like, you've kind of adopted this simple church idea.
I want church to be simple.
Actually, and Francis Chan does it better than you.
Like most things.
Which I started reading his book, You and Me Forever. Great book.
Oh, really? Me and Andrew read it together.
Yeah.
Now, it has nothing to do with what we're talking about right now, but
Sarah
we read
and
it
I
together,
also.
a couple months ago.
But I got to the
Holy
end of chapter 1, and I was like, oh, there's questions and things to do together. We should do them together.
No, it was a good primer for coming to a place where we were not going to be actively pursuing ministry. So it was really good primer for that.
Right. So in Christian community, just go to church. Is it?
Go to church, man.
Yeah.
What do you mean by church?
What's it look like? What's Christian community look like? Because here's the conversation I'm having with the pastor of the church that I'm on core team with, and we're helping to plant and launching in September. And the conversation we're having is that Sunday morning is not a place for community, but a place to celebrate what Jesus is doing in the community that you're already in.
Agreed.
Yeah?
Yeah. Can I come to your church?
Yeah, you can. I mean,
a little bit of a
I don't know
commute.
if you'll like it.
Yeah.
We're gonna have pews.
Oh.
No, we're not. We're gonna have chairs. We're gonna be in a school.
Oh, come on, pews! Bring back pews.
You know how heavy pews are to bring in on a Sunday morning? Come on, man.
Yeah.
So that's community, right? How does that look? And the other thing that's changed my kind of view, because I had this idea that like community is these four things, kind of this process: fellowship, seeking, like you're in fellowship with each other, and that should lead to seeking God together, and that should lead to accountability with each other, and that should lead to a heart to sacrifice for the purpose of bringing others into fellowship. And as I've been talking with my lead pastor friend, he the whole of it is fellowship. Like if you look at 1 John, fellowship is very specific in when it talks about the fellowship of believers. Like it's very specific. It's not this starting point. It's the hope. You know what I'm saying? Like, does that make sense? Like when you look at what Christian communities should look like, it should be a fellowship of believers that encourage each other to become more like Christ for the purpose of witnessing, being a witness for Jesus in hopes that people will confess belief in him and join your fellowship of believers. Ish. Like there's more to it than that.
No, I think that's valid.
But I mean, but like the expectation is not to get people to join you. The expectation, like I'm a big advocate for love other people without exception, without expectation, and I kind of try and like caveat that with, but I hope you meet Jesus, and I hope that my desire is that you would know him and that he would reveal himself to you, and he's faithful to do so. Man, your family is loud.
It's not my family, it's somebody else's family.
Oh. So there's that. Stephen, I know.
Stephen?
I know community out there while you were in Moody, community was awesome from what I saw and from what we had talked about. Like while you were actually attending school, community was really easy. You were kind of saturated in it, right?
Yeah, I think I always say that Moody is the best and the worst thing that's ever happened in my life, and a lot of that revolves around community. I mean,
hey, say hey to some of my community guys. I think there's some community people. We're talking about community right now.
Hey.
Hey community. Hey community. All right, sorry.
No, you're fine. So yeah, I mean, being in a place that is full of Christians, we literally get up and we pray. Our classes pray before class. Sometimes you sing a hymn. We have chapel 3 days a week. You go and eat and everyone's praying. I mean, all it is God, 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 God. We all go to the same church for the most part. And it's great. I mean, you build these deep, intimate relationships. You're living life with people literally on the floor. I know their problems. They know my problems. And it's great. I would have never asked for anything different. But 4 years of that, you get caught in what I call the closest that I'll probably experience to true Christian relationships until I get to heaven, that are almost perfect. Because it's like we truly are living life with one another and worshiping our God. But then what I've noticed is when it's stripped away, it's literally gone in one day. Everything that you lived life with the day of graduation is gone. You know, there's no transition. From what
Do you think that's a typical Christian experience in a Christian Bible college or setting?
Probably. I don't know. I assume so.
Have you talked? You have friends that you keep in touch with.
Oh yeah, and all of us struggle with the same thing. You know, it's hard because it's like you literally lived an intimate life with 15, 20 individuals, and now it's gone. Right. I mean, it's cool to live in a culture now where we have Facebook, Skype, Google Hangout, where we can do that, but it's not the same.
Right.
And so one of the things I tell people all the time is I live in a city with 3 million people, yet I feel like nobody knows me. And for me, that just boggles my mind. It's like, how can I live in a facility that pays for thousands of people to work, but still, like, nobody knows me.
Right.
I recently just left the church. First time I've ever done that. Turned in my membership after 4 years.
Wow. I didn't know you could do that.
Tough work. You can leave the church. Oh, you left a church, not
I
the
left
church.
not the church, a church.
Oh, I didn't know that you could turn in your membership. I have membership in like 8 different churches because I've never turned it in.
A professor recommended, she goes, if you had a formal way of being...
Wait, you're tithing 8 different places right now?
No. Most people who are members at churches don't tithe anyway, so.
Oh, okay. Oh, fair.
But yeah, so I mean, yeah, community's hard here. I mean, it's Moody gave it to you, and they gave it to you full force, and it was great. But then afterwards, it's like, what do I do? There wasn't a transition. One way that I think Moody should do it is there should be no on-campus housing. Go live in the community. Just a couple of you guys living and building relationships in the community.
Right.
Apostasy. We skip Acts 2:42 times.
Is that Italian? Pasta?
Pasta.
Pasta. Hey, this is Angie.
Angie.
So yeah, no, I think that's actually much broader than what I thought we were going to talk about. This idea that, so we did the same thing. We had a group here called The Shift, and we were all a part of it and doing awesome stuff with it. And we were a part of each other's lives, like almost daily. Daily.
That's what it
we
felt
were
like.
A part of each other's lives. And what I've found, and I'm talking to people after we've left, or after they've left at different transitionary periods in their life, whether they got too old or they got involved with other ministries or God sent them across the nation, what I find is that people have that version of community where you're in each other's lives on a daily basis and growing together. When it's gone for whatever reason, there's this huge loss and there's this huge disconnect between what to do next and how is something else going to be that good or that. And I would argue that you left The Shift and went to Moody and you found even a deeper level of community,
for sure,
right? But I would also argue that what we as leaders, whenever we led, kind of church world stuff, we did not do a very good job of being honest with people and saying this isn't real. It is good, it is valuable, and it is important to your spiritual development, but it is not real life. Real life is out there in the world amongst unbelievers. We're going to go to heaven. I have no doubt about it. I read the Bible. We're going to go to heaven, and we're going to experience that all the time for eternity. And the reality of what God's called us to live in is Jerusalem. What Jesus came from heaven to live in Jerusalem, to teach other people that were hopeless and without him. And I feel that we don't do a very good job in Christianity to say the real world is the real world where God expects you to thrive. And this place, this refuge of church, magic bunnies, this refuge of community, right? This refuge of community is a place that should be equipping you to be a part of the real world.
Right.
It's just like I'm in the military. I go to training. I don't go to training to enjoy training. No one does, but especially in the Air Force. But we don't go to training to enjoy training. We go to training to engage our operation, our mission. That's why we train, is for mission. And I think that we don't do a very good job sometimes in Christianity of explaining that the mission is not to exist in this refuge. This refuge exists to help the mission, not the other way around. The mission isn't a way to get more people to come into refuge. The refuge is a place to get people built up enough to go to mission. And I think that we're not as honest as we should be about it. That Christian community, Christian college, Christian whatever version of church you have is not real life. It is a part of life, but it's not real life. The real work of God in our lives, at least as far as I can tell from the Bible and my own experience in the gospel, is to be engaged in the real world where hurting and broken people are.
Right.
But even with that, I think that's wonderful. But I think with that, we need to have the body of Christ with us.
Amen. No, I don't think if you don't have refuge, how are you going to be equipped to do it? How are you going to be able to grow in it?
Right. So I mean, like, kind of setting that down, like spreading that out, like, it's not about, like, it almost doesn't matter what your community looks like, as long.
Apostasy.
But I mean, realistically, like, it's more important, like, what your community, like the function of your community, right? Like the point of your community versus what it looks like the makeup of it's not necessarily as important as what it's doing, and the focus and the goal of your community is to equip you. I mean, it says it right in the Bible, right? Like the fivefold ministry. Thomas, you know it better than me, but it's apostle. What is it? Stephen knows it better than me. Apostle,
pastor, evangelist,
shepherd,
teacher,
right? Teacher. A barista is in there.
Yeah, I think a barista's involved.
But those were
board
given
member?
for the, huh?
A board member.
Yeah, board member, and then little old lady sitting in the back crying about the carpet, right? Yelling about the carpet.
Yep.
All right.
Fivefold ministry.
I'm sorry, little old ladies that sit in church.
I actually support them more than I support them.
Me too. But the point is that they were given for the equipping of the saints to go out and do their mission, right? So what it looks like doesn't matter as much as how it functions. And how it functions is that it increases what you look like in comparison to Jesus.
Right. So the point I was getting at, I guess that without drawing it out even more, was that the honesty part should be that mission is going to call you away from it. Like,
right.
A real mission, a real purpose, a real value is that Paul gets to be lonely. Yeah, that sucks, but he also gets to go and preach the gospel in Samaria and, Corinth and over in Greece, and that's the thing. Like, you're going to be lonely doing that, right. And you should have been prepared for that, knowing that, man, I look to Jesus, not to people. I look to Jesus, not to this. And when I see Jesus, I see him going in uncomfortable places, right. And I see him calling me to the cross, and that's not going to be a matter of comfort. So what I say, in agreement with you, Bruce, enjoy community as much as you can. Embrace it, love it for what it is, but be honest about what it is. That it's preparing you to go do something else, and you will not always have it. Now, there are people who get to have it for years and years and years.
Right.
And awesome for them. God bless you if that's what he's called you to. But most likely, if you're anything like me and the people that I know and I communicate with mostly, you're out there on the edge somewhere. You're not at the center, which there's beauty in the center and value in the center and love and hope and purpose in the center. But if you're out there somewhere near the edge, you're not going to experience community consistently all the time. Embrace it when you have it, love it for what it is, appreciate what God's doing with it, and know that you're not going to be there for long.
Yeah. I think I look in Scripture, because I was trying to say, what does relationships look like, community? And I see two solid examples. One is going to be with David and Jonathan, and another one's going to be with Timothy and Paul. But both of them were separated
for a long time. More than they were together.
And one of my favorite passages is where Paul's writing to Timothy, and he goes, "I remember the day that we left and the tears that filled our eyes, but I long to be with you again." But it's true. Relationships, community, it's a blessing from the Lord. It's like Ecclesiastes says, it's a season. We all have seasons for something. So those who do have those solid relationships with community, we need to cherish them and value them. I think of Dietrich Bonhoeffer, who didn't realize the value of community until he was locked away in a concentration camp when he had no community. Right. And when he wrote Life Together, which you haven't read that, you need to read it.
I have it.
You guys should probably read it. My wife reads it to me. She's like, "Oh, this is really good. Why didn't you say this?" No, I'm just kidding.
You're like, I'm not Dietrich Bonhoeffer.
So I said that. I just didn't know he said
it. So can I say that if you are supporting this boycott, you haven't spent enough time in community? Can I say that?
You should I would say that your version of community is probably not based on Christ. It's most likely based on a purpose or an idea.
I didn't say that.
No, I would argue.
I think you did say that.
I would argue that a community that is focused on growing and knowing Christ grows further and further away from a single point.
Be part of a boycott.
Any single point issue that's topical and controversial and a part of pop culture. It's literally this stuff pops up and it disappears. What happened to Starbucks? Weren't we not going to support Starbucks anymore? Was that
Christmas cup thing? Yeah.
Yeah. We were not going to do that.
I think they folded, didn't they? They were like, "We'll give you back Christmas."
Yeah, we're giving you back. We took it away, and we're going to give it back now. Your pagan holiday, anyway. Oh, boy.
They kept their Christmas blend.
Right. So I'm just saying, like, man, when my focus is Christ, that stuff loses purpose. It loses flavor. And in community, I get to work out those things in my heart that are so messed up, that need to be addressed by the Holy Spirit. And that doesn't happen. That's not going to happen out in the culture. I'm not going to go out in the world and go to a party and hang out with my friends and drink all night, and somebody like tells me the deepest things that are going on in my heart and what God wants to work. Community does that. Right. Now, when community is focused on that outer stuff, they don't get to do that. Yep. And I would argue that that's not Christian community. Right. If you're a single point issue.
And I think Paul points that out in 2 Timothy 4:10 when he's talking about Demas, when he says that he's in love with the present world and he has deserted me and gone to Thessalonica. Right.
Man, Bible school. I went to seminary. I'm like, I need to go to Bible school. Man,
go ahead.
No, that's it. That's it.
I think we're just over an hour, so I think we're probably that might be a good place to wrap it up. Unless you got any other parting thoughts or shots.
Don't love the world. Love each other.
Love each other.
Man, love each other.
Be the hands and feet of Jesus.
Which means adopt babies and stop worrying about Target.
We've settled that.
That sounds like Angelina Jolie.
Oh, no. More Christian than most Christians I know.
More Christian Jolie. Than Christians are Christian.
So that's awesome. So if you are interested in, for The Odd Show, you could check us out at theoddshow.com. That is the GODD show.com. The G is silent. You can check us out on Twitter, odd_show. And I think that's the only place we are. No, we have a Facebook page. You can go there. There's a group and a page. You can like those and join the conversation after this gets posted. We encourage conversation. All hate mail can go to thomas@theoddshow.com. And if you're interested in following Stephen Frausto, you have a Twitter. What's your Twitter?
I have a Twitter. It's Stephen Frausto, at Stephen Frausto.
At Stephen Frausto. Is that the only place, or what else?
I have an Instagram, also at Stephen Frausto.
Awesome. So easy. And I'll put them both on the screen right above you. Yep. They're not right now, but they will be. Yeah. And that's it, man. Awesome. Loved having you, Stephen. That was...
Loved it. Thank you guys for letting me participate.
Yeah, thanks for being on the show with us. Thomas, you probably said some stuff that are going to make some people mad.
Every time.
And I'm sure that I did. Although we haven't gotten any hate mail, but I think that's because the 3 or 4 people that watch agree with us mostly. So, but we might have a spike with Stephen up on the show. Promote it to Moody. I mean, Moody's Moody's a big community. Big Christian community. Big old Christian community.
Yeah. Big old community.
All right, guys. I love you guys. Audience, love you guys. You guys are awesome, and we will see you next month.
All right.
All right. Peace.
See you guys. Thanks.
Bye, everyone.
Later.